So you want to try out co-living, or maybe you are a business owner who's thinking of it as a business opportunity, potentially, whatever it is, you have come to the right place because I'm going to tell you all about it. Well, not all. I'm definitely not the expert in co-living, having only tried it twice, once in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia for 9 months and the other time in Chiang Mai for 1 month. So I know a little bit about it. I'm going to share with you what I feel are some pros and cons, and also what are the things that you should look out for when you are trying to find out what co-living situation is right for you. What are the kinds of questions that you need to be asking before you move into that particular co-living space. But before that, just a quick disruption to let you know about the two different timelines in this video. I initially recorded this co-living review video 2 months ago, but I have since experienced co-living in Chiang Mai, Thailand as well, which was one of the best living experiences I have ever had in a space called the Social Club. So now that I know more about co-living, I recorded this video just yesterday to share the additional knowledge that I now have. Yay! Let's get started. What is co-living? Basically, what it is people living together, which are not, people who have known each other before. So, I'm sure you've had housemates at one point of time in your life, but you know these housemates, you know who these people are. Or like, if it's a rental situation, maybe there's a landlord and there are tenants who place is being rented to. But in a co-living situation, there is one business owner or a company, and this company runs the entire co-living space, and everyone pays rent or a monthly fee to them. And so they basically manage laundry, they manage electricity, cleaning, every other service you can think of. So there are common shared areas like usually there's like a pool table or a ping pong table area, then there's a kitchen, a living room area, like a big TV where people sit around and watch and eat at the same time. And there are individual rooms which can either be dormitory style, which are like, yes, throwback student hostel, or it can be personal, like private rooms where you even can get like a queen size bed and a bathtub all to yourself. Or it can be just like a really simple room, like single bed, pretty tiny situation. So the most fun part about co-living spaces is that you share the communal areas. And that's where you can get to meet a lot of people and have this sense of community, and that's where it just feels super, super fun. I don't really know exactly like who invented co-living or how it started, but from what I have learned from people in co-living spaces is that it has actually been around for quite some time. But it recently became super popularized when digital nomads became popular. So these digital nomads, maybe they work for a company and then they get to stay in like Bali for 1 month, and then Thailand for another month, Vietnam for the next month. And most of the time these people work alone, and sometimes it can get super lonely. So this idea of all these digital nomads staying together in one place, so each person working separately, but they still have the sense of community, that they can sit next to each other when they work. And there's also a community manager who organizes events like barbecue nights, movie nights, and so on and so forth. Now let's get into the meat of it, which is my honest review. Number 1, convenience. This was the reason why I moved in, because of my shooting schedule. I had no time to look for a place to stay, and because of some contract with my landlord, I only had 5 days to pack an entire 3-bedroom house and move to a new space. So it's so convenient because all you have to do is just bring your bags. Everything is there. It's fully furnished with great amenities. The internet is set up already. You don't have to do your own plumbing or take care of the faulty air conditioning. If there is some problem with your room, the management will usually fix it. So the pro number 2 is a sense of community. Now, I really love this because at my co-living space, there were people from Kazakhstan. I have never met someone from Kazakhstan before. People from Kyrgyzstan, from Russia, from China, from France, from India, everywhere, you name it. Feels like you're traveling, but I was just staying where I was in Kuala Lumpur. So I really liked that. Having a group of friends, people that you like to hang out with, and people who are cool and awesome, and then at the end of the day you're like tired at work, and then like you see them and you go out for dinner together in a big group. Honestly, it's super fun. And then also you share whatever you're working on, you share it with them, and sometimes they can help you with it. They can give you ideas, suggestions, feedback. And then also you have events which are organized by the co-living space. Most of the times the events are free, so that's like free food and free transport. So if you're new in a city, I mean, like, who does not want that? All right, the third pro, and definitely the most obvious and the most amazing one of all, is the cost savings. I save so much money from staying in this co-living space because electricity is free and water, internet, everything is free. So with my unit, it was about 1,750 ringgit-ish. You would never be able to find a room at that location in Kuala Lumpur for that price. No way. And there were some people in the smaller rooms who were paying as little as 900 ringgit, which is ridiculously cheap. With the rising cost of housing, this is going to be the only option for a lot of urban dwellers. Now let's go to the cons. If you are very particular about the design of your living abode, you will have absolutely no control. If the walls are yellow and you hate yellow, I'm sorry, but you can't change the walls. Obviously, you can make improvements within your own space. I did that, and I'm very happy that without making too many changes to the room, I actually managed to make it very aesthetically pleasing for myself and bring out my own creativity, which I absolutely need to do everywhere I go. So definitely there are ways that you can work around it, but in terms of like really designing it properly, you won't be able to do that. The second con is interruption. So this one, it will really depend on space to space and the kind of room that you have. So as I mentioned, there are lots of different types of rooms. In Kuala Lumpur, my room was shared bathroom, so I had to exit my room to go to the bathroom, which was shared with 3 other people. I did not like sharing my bathroom quite so much. Initially, it was okay, but then after a while, cleanliness was a little bit of an issue. But if you have your own bathroom, which you can pay a little bit more for, then obviously there will be less disruptions to your routine. But in all co-living situations, you definitely will not have your own kitchen. So if you're someone who loves to cook, this might definitely pose a problem. Cleaners coming to clean your space, people using the toilet, so you have to postpone your toilet time. Sometimes they can be showering for half an hour. So be prepared to do something else for half an hour while you wait for your shower. So it is co-living, you're living with lots of people. There are going to be disruptions, but I think it's all a matter of how you manage it. And actually, in a way, this turned out to be a pro for me because it taught me about boundaries and it taught me to learn how to balance speaking up for myself and also not being a crazy person complaining all the time. And then the next con is obviously privacy and space issues. It's very difficult if you want a moment, like a couple of days to yourself, just to be alone in quiet with your thoughts and just be by yourself, which for me as an empath and an artist, like slight hippie kind of person, I really needed that, just to have like the energetic waves above my head like cleared and not clogged, and just to be able to think freely. That was honestly quite difficult because even when I was in my room, just right outside, like 20 centimeters away from me, is someone cooking bacon and mushrooms. Another 20 centimeters to the other side is someone who is talking with their family and they're laughing and everything. So like real privacy is kind of difficult to find. That's the end of the pros and cons list. Now, if you are convinced to try out co-living yourself, here are some questions you want to keep in mind when choosing which space to live in. So firstly, try to find out or ask the management like what kind of people mostly live in this co-living space. Is it students, or is it working adults, or is it nomads? Is it mostly locals, or is it mostly people from all around the world, like travelers? And the reason why this is very important is because students and people who are workers or digital nomads have very different lifestyles and very different levels of cleanliness and different levels of etiquette in general. So the first place I lived at, which was in Kuala Lumpur, initially when I first moved in, there were quite a number of digital nomads and working adults. And it was super nice because it was nice to exchange ideas, they were clean. But once the students moved in, I mean, it's not that I have anything against students, because at one point of time, I was a student myself, but the students have completely different ways of living. For example, the students come back drunk at 4 a.m. And for students, the thing that they are thinking about the most is their studies. No, that's a lie. Students just think about getting laid. And when their brain is in this mode, it's very, very difficult to think about things like, rotting bananas lying in the fridge, or like a bunch of like instant noodle containers that have been eaten and like left in the sink. It's just completely different lifestyles. So I also forgot to put this in reverse. If you are a student and the majority of the people at the co-living space, they are like digital nomads or working adults, you are probably going to be very bored because there will be no one who wants to party with you. Or maybe you want to party till 5 a.m. till 6 a.m. and watch the sunset, which you should be doing if you are a student. But the working adults who are like in their 30s, they're like, nah, I don't mind partying, but I want to go home at like 1:30. Story of my life right now. Number 2 is take into account what the occupancy is like. So that is a very important thing that you can ask the management. Mid to low occupancy rate is definitely the best. If it's too low, it can be super boring and quiet and just not fun at all. But if there are too many people, that's when things go completely haywire. Because on the website, it could be promised that, hey, there's free coffee, or there's free cleaning services. But if there are too many people, then they could be cutting back on things, like the cleaning service could not be as efficient. So for example, the cleaners, instead of having, like 15 minutes per room, they need to cut it down to 2 minutes per room. And if there's free coffee promised, if there are too many people using the machine could break down. Things like water heating, fast internet. If there are lots of people using the internet's not going to be fast anymore. But then again, a very well managed space takes into account these things. Number 3, actually pay attention and do a little bit of research to who or what runs the co-living space. I'm comparing the 2 co-living spaces I lived in. One was in Kuala Lumpur, the other in Chiang Mai, which is called the Social Club, which is the best place that I have ever lived in my entire life. It wasn't just about the luxuries, it was just about the care, the absolute care. You feel that you are a very loved human being. Like, it will regulate your entire nervous system. If you ever have a chance to live at the Social Club in Chiang Mai, please take the opportunity. Tell them Grace says hi. Okay, anyways, I digress. So first, the Kuala Lumpur co-living space I lived in, the team itself, the people that we saw from day to day were amazing people who genuinely cared about us. But if the team is amazing, but they are run by a company, like a giant real estate conglomerate who definitely does not care about, raising the standards of co-living or about me. They just care about profits, obviously. But the people who were running the space, the co-living space in Chiang Mai, the owners were like hanging out with us. They were like playing board games with us. They are entrepreneurs in their own right, and they are actually concerned about the people who live there because they are concerned about creating community and about the digital nomad community. So that made a huge difference. You want to actually be able to see, like, do the founders of this space actually care and actually know what co-living is? Or are they just a bunch of business people trying to cash in on a trend? Alright, that's all from me. Thank you for watching. I hope you have found the answers that you clicked on this video for. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'm gonna leave you with some of the outtakes from my previous video in which I talk about the hardest part about co-living actually, which is having to say goodbye to people. There were a lot of times where it felt like I was on a reality show where like everyone lives together and then at the end of it, they're like, I'm sorry, Shane. I built really close bonds with Shane. It's like a brother to me, and to see him leave in this way, that was really what it felt like, because people were just leaving and leaving and leaving, and you built such strong bonds with them.